There's a place many of us carry in our hearts, not on any map, but real all the same. A quiet mountain nestled in the Blue Ridge, where the air smells of pine and wood smoke, where mornings begin with the creak of floorboards and the scent of cornbread rising in the oven, where families gather at dusk around a single lamp. And someone always says, "Good night, John boy." It's not just a good night. It's a promise that no matter how far you go, you're still loved. You're still home. And if you close your eyes, you can almost see him, sitting on the porch, pipe in hand, hands rough from work, face lined with years of sun and storm, a twinkle in his eye. That familiar gravelly voice beginning, "Now let me tell you about the time we called him Grandpa." Sibyl and Tyler Walton. But to millions who grew up with the Waltons, he wasn't just a character. He was family. The steady heartbeat of that house. The quiet wisdom in every crisis. The laughter that eased tension. The hand on your shoulder when words weren't enough. And the man who brought him to life, Will Geer, wasn't he just playing a part? He was Grandpa. Not in costume, not in performance, but in spirit, in soul, in values. Because Will Geer didn't become Grandpa Walton. Grandpa was already in him, long before the cameras rolled. Born in 1905 in Indianapolis, Indiana, a time when horses still pulled wagons and children knew the names of stars, Will grew up with simple rhythms: school, church, chores. But even as a boy, he stood out, not for being loud, but for being present, observant, thoughtful. He found his calling early, in theater, where he could speak truths he couldn't say in everyday life. He studied drama, performed Shakespeare in parks, and made his way to New York, where he thrived, tall, rugged, with a voice like distant thunder. He played judges, preachers, frontiersmen, anyone who carried history in their bones. But Will wasn't just an actor. He was a man of principle. In the 1930s and 40s, he stood up for workers' rights, civil rights, and peace, performing at union rallies, singing folk songs with Pete Seeger and Woody Guthrie. He believed in justice, in community, in speaking truth with kindness. And that would cost him everything. In 1951, during the McCarthy era, he was called before the House Un-American Activities Committee, asked to name names, to betray his friends. He refused, not out of pride, but out of loyalty. And for that, he was blacklisted. Banned from film, TV, and radio. Overnight, a respected actor vanished. No roles. No income. No future in Hollywood. But Will Geer didn't break. He didn't run. He sold his home in Santa Monica, packed up his family, and moved to Topanga Canyon, a quiet, wild stretch of land in the hills. There he built a new life. Cleared the land. Planted gardens. Raised chickens. And in 1954, he founded the Will Geer's Theatricum Botanicum, an outdoor theater under the trees, where blacklisted artists could perform freely, without fear. It wasn't just a theater, it was a sanctuary, a refuge. A place of peace, art, and dignity. He grew food. He told stories. He waited, not for revenge, but for the world to remember what truly matters. And decades later, when the Waltons came calling in the 1970s, it wasn't casting, it was destiny. America was changing, divided by war, unrest, and loneliness, and television was searching for something honest. Something real. The Waltons, based on Earl Hamner Jr.'s Depression-era childhood, offered just that: no flashy effects, no laugh tracks, just a family loving, struggling, and enduring together. And at its heart stood Grandpa Walton. When the producers looked for an actor with warmth, wisdom, and a touch of mischief, someone who felt like he'd lived 100 years, they found Will Geer. And it was meant to be. Here was a man who'd lived through hardship, the Dust Bowl, labor struggles, political storms, now playing a grandfather who remembered the same. He didn't act like a man of the land, he was one. His hands were callous from real work. His voice carried the weight of winter's past. His eyes, sharp, kind, full of life, had seen enough to know what truly mattered. When Grandpa said, "The land remembers," you believed him, because Will Geer knew it did. On screen, Grandpa was full of gentle contradictions, gruff yet kind, stubborn yet wise. He loved to tease his wife Esther, calling her goat just to get a rise, but when she was truly worried, he was the first to soften. Their love wasn't loud. It was deep, built on decades of shared joys, sorrows, and quiet mornings together. He loved to fish, to garden, to visit the Baldwin sisters for a little special wine, wink, wink, and return with a story and a smile. But don't let the humor fool you. Grandpa had fire, especially for the land. In one unforgettable moment, he finds a deer shot out of season, left to rot. He doesn't shout, but his face, full of sorrow almost holy, says everything. "That ain't hunting," he says quietly. "That's wastefulness. That's disrespect." That moment wasn't he acting. It was Geer speaking through Grandpa, a man who spent his life planting trees, protecting nature, believing we belong to the earth, not the other way around. When the family faced hard times, a storm, a broken heart, a financial worry, Grandpa didn't give long speeches. He offered quiet wisdom, a practical fix, a well-timed joke. He believed in helping with your hands. Sell a gaff, fix a roof, lend a tool. That was his way of loving. He'd grumble about the young'uns, but beneath it all was pride. Especially when John Boy left to become a writer. Grandpa didn't make a big speech. He just nodded. A small gesture. But you saw it, the love. The letting go. Because he knew love means freedom. Before the Waltons, Will had already lived a full life in westerns like Winchester 73 and Jeremiah Johnson, playing chiefs, judges, and quiet heroes. During the show's run, he appeared on Columbo, Starsky and Hutch, The Love Boat, not for fame, but because he loved to work, to create, to connect. In 1974, he recorded Peter and the Wolf, his voice warm, rich, full of life, bringing the story to life. Listen to it, and you can hear Grandpa by the fire, making animals dance with just his words. In interviews like the one with Betty Rogg, you see the real Will, laughing easily, speaking with warmth, eyes bright with joy. He loved life. He loved people. He loved truth. And when he passed in 1978, during the show's 6th season, the Waltons didn't recast Grandpa. They honored him by writing his passing into the story, with grace, with love. In the legacy, Grandpa dies peacefully in the garden. When John Boy returns and sees the empty chair on the porch, you feel it. In your chest. In your heart. Because it wasn't just John Boy who lost Grandpa, we did. But in his final letter, Grandpa says, "The things you own end up owning you. But the things you carry in your heart, those are yours forever. Respect the land. Honor your family. Live with integrity. And when you stand on this mountain, know that I'm with you. In the wind. In the trees. In the silence, fiction, yes, truth. Absolutely. Today, the Theatricum Botanicum still thrives. The Waltons still airs. New generations discover that house, that family, that man on the porch. Because Grandpa Walton wasn't just a character. He was timeless. He taught us that the simplest lives are often the deepest. That integrity doesn't need to shout. That love means showing up, every single day. So the next time you see him, don't just see a role. See a man who lived. Who stood for what was right. Who loved deeply. Who believed in stories, in family, in you. See Will Geer, the artist, the rebel, the builder of sanctuaries. The man who found his way back, not to fame but to home. And if you listen closely, when the sun dips behind the ridge and the fireflies begin to glow, you can still hear him, saying, "Now let me tell you about the time," and we're still listening. Always good night, John Boy, good night, Grandpa, you're home.